Welcome to the Sanity Project Podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project Podcast. You are here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. Our guest today is Adrienne Rivera. Adrienne Rivera is the author of Fit Through Love, and it's on Amazon. And she's also a spiritual business coach who specializes in teaching healers and coaches how to create a six-figure business online. She started out her coaching journey as an online fitness plus mindset coach, grew it to a six-figure business, and discovered her passion and talent for business coaching. Welcome to the show, Adrienne Rivera.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm grateful that you are here because what you're going to be talking about is something that I think is really important right now. And I think people need to hear it. And it's about breathwork. But how did you go from a spiritual business coach, which is all encompassing, to a breathwork coach?
Yes, for sure. So what's interesting is that, you mentioned my book, Fit Through Love. That was back when I was a fitness coach. And then I became a business coach. And every single thing that I ever did, when clients would get stuck or where I would feel like there was a breakthrough waiting to happen, breathwork was the go-to every single time that got them to break through to the next level. When I was a fitness coach, I had people do breathwork and they were like, wow, I feel like I now am no longer plateauing. Physically, I feel like I've emotionally released 10 pounds. This is amazing. And my best clients in business were, the ones that showed up to breathwork every single week. And so Breath of Gold has been my accidental success that has kind of it has felt like an overnight success because it's been such a passion, such a hobby that I've kind of gotten to this place of like, oh my gosh, like I've created all of this. And meanwhile, I was focused on business coaching. So I have an Oracle deck that I'm a creator of, which if anyone knows anything about an Oracle deck, it takes a long time. You have to hire an artist, find a printing company, create a whole booklet, which is basically like writing a book. And then I have the Breath of Gold journal. And I also have an entire breathwork certification that I worked with a doctor to create and a lawyer and a therapist. And that all happened, the certification, all of that, I took a month off and did it. And so I have these three incredible assets to my business that I didn't even realize were like so valuable and so in demand. And yeah, the universe really showed me in my own breathwork journeys time and time after again, this is the thing that you're going to be known for. This is the thing you're going to be known for. And I remember going to a wedding last summer and they had funny name tags for where everyone was sitting. And at that point, I was still introducing myself as I'm Adrienne, the business coach. I'm a spiritual business coach. That's what I do. And at my seat, it said breathwork guru. I'm like, That's interesting. Okay. So like these people clearly know me for breathwork more than coaching or business or anything, entrepreneurial. So yeah, that was like also a really big sign from the universe. And I would say it was like from that point on that I started seeing that was like really my value to add to this world, and leaning more into that.
Well, that's cool. Is that the Breath of Gold? Is that a website?
Yeah, Breath of Gold is a website. It is many things that we have. It's the Breath of Gold journal. We have a 12-week journal course. We have the Oracle deck, the Breath of Gold certification. So most of the things that I offer are Breath of Gold. However, I still do a little bit of spiritual business coaching because sometimes people do, of course, need the strategy to implement what comes through intuitively from the breathwork journey. So some of the other things that I do are like the Gold Frequency Mastermind and the Gold Frequency Challenge, which is basically a spin on words of Breath of Gold, and everything I do is gold. But that one is more about the frequency of gold, which is attracting success and abundance into your business.
I'm going to check it as soon as we hang up since I didn't know about that website.
Yeah.
I was on Adrienne Rivera, and it was interesting, and I go through these websites quickly to get the background of who you are and why you do what you do, etc. But I didn't see Breath of Gold, and I'm going to go look for it. Believe me. And I hope that I hope our listeners do as well. So, okay, we always say, or at least I always say, when somebody's talking to me about something, take a breath, take a breath. And yet you have made this into a business. Take a breath. And I'm saying, take a breath. And it's really interesting because people don't breathe. They don't breathe. I mean, they don't breathe normally. Right now, I have been dealing myself, because I like to talk about myself, but especially if it relates to the topic. But we've had a huge heat wave a couple of months ago, which is still lingering in the air. And everybody sort of has, what is the word? Brain fog. They're calling it brain fog. Now, they used to call it brain fog last year when it was about COVID. But this is different. This is brain fog from the heat. My house, particularly, the walls were hot, the floors were hot, everything was hot, and air conditioning didn't help. And people were walking around going, "What's that word? What's that word?" They were losing their words. So if you aren't able to breathe properly, you're losing your ability to gather the words.
And your focus and your cognition and your mental speed goes down. Yeah. Wow. That is fascinating about the heat. And it totally makes sense. And even for people that haven't felt that in heat, well, I know I felt that in a sauna. I'm like, I can barely breathe.
Right.
That was tough. But there's a lot of talk in the breathwork world about like wearing masks for so long and how that basically taught people subconsciously to be afraid to breathe. Oh, if you breathe too deeply, you're going to catch COVID and you're going to get sick and you might die. And this fear around breath. And not only has that added to the fear around breath, but I believe that our subconscious can be fragile and that our body always wants to protect us. I studied psychology in college. That was one of my degrees. And, we learn about like the developmental years and how often a function of the brain can be suppression. Like we can suppress emotions or feelings or memories around certain things, and that protects us, right? So I feel that how someone breathes, especially when they're asked to breathe deeply, communicates a lot about how they are feeling and what they're holding on to. So if I lead, let's say a 20-person class in person in breathwork, I can see people that are really going for it. Often they're crying. Often they're having a catharsis. Often they are maybe sometimes laughing or smiling or feeling euphoria or pleasure, and you can tell what they're feeling. Whereas it seems to me that there's always a couple people that look like they're barely breathing.
Right.
And it's a very much a protective mechanism of like, oh no, if I breathe too much, I can't trust what's going to happen. What's going to happen? I may cry. It's not safe to cry. And when I can support those clients, usually it takes one-on-one sessions to kind of support them and feeling safe enough to go for it. There's usually a lot to work through for them. So our subconscious and our past traumas, they affect every area of our lives. They affect our relationships. They affect our time in the bedroom. They affect our business. They affect the amount of worthiness that we have to charge what we're worth in our business. They affect our sense of worthiness for taking time out of the day to go to the gym and, put ourselves first on our to-do list. So the list goes on and on and on. And breathwork for business owners, I feel like this is the number one thing that people are needing that I can't stop preaching about, because if everyone emotionally regulated themselves, if everyone had access to all of the ideas that could be opened in a breathwork journey, I feel that the success would happen a lot faster and they would move forward with clarity. I would say lack of clarity is one of the number one things that I see business owners held back by. It's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to stay stuck and think about what I don't know what to do. And that's kind of what I see. So breathwork is amazing for, I would say the two best things it's for, gaining clarity, especially around business and ideas and creativity and, your life purpose. And then second, releasing trauma, letting go of limiting beliefs, doubts, stories from the past, meaning that we've made from childhood traumas, that kind of stuff.
I mean, we're all good story designers, that's for sure. We have this issue, whatever it might be, wind up not being able to breathe deeply, certainly to the bottom of your stomach. And then somebody says, oh, okay, that's good. And then the next person, you can't breathe at all. You're lucky if you're able to breathe down to your lungs, to the top half. I mean, lungs are huge.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize how large the lungs are and how much space they take up in our chest, and we rarely fill them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decide, that if they have a trauma, if their lack of being able to breathe is related to a childhood trauma, because usually it happens that early, if not pre-birth, that they get, what is the word? Well, besides being all twisted up, it's something like that. They can't change that outlook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So have you ever had a client like that, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I have seen, basically, it feels like every single kind of client under the sky when it comes to breath work, when it comes to different traumas in their body, when it comes to, sometimes people get stuck in their own ways with the story. Well, I'm just not able to change, or, well, I'm just not able to breathe deeply. And I loved what you shared about story designers. It's like we design the story and the meaning of it. It's almost like taking different pieces and creating your own puzzle. It's like, okay, all the pieces are here of all the events from childhood, all the events from life, and we are the ones that design the meaning. And what I love about breathwork is that it can take you into a state, an altered state of consciousness, where you can see the past trauma and the past stories you've created from a different point of view and a different perspective. I have experienced so much freedom from it. For example, anyone in my past that I had a hard time forgiving or letting go of or feeling resentment towards, breathwork brought up those stories again, and I saw them. And for the first time, I was like, okay, now I see it from their perspective. Doesn't mean the situation was okay, but from that different perspective, I was able to, find forgiveness, find freedom. Like ultimately freedom, the pathway to freedom is through forgiveness and releasing the meaning that we give around stories that keep us stagnant and stuck and complacent and in our comfort zones.
Yes, you can see all sides of the story if you step back a lot sometimes. Mm-hmm. And when you're learning to breathe properly and effectively, you can see not just your point of view of the story, but you can see somebody else's point of view. Obviously the other person, but you can see there's a 360-degree view of everything. And if you keep moving, you could make that circle bigger so you could see what went on in that other person's life prior to your interaction with them. So I think you can do that. Can you do that? I don't know. I just made that up.
Yes, for sure. And you can do that from a meditative space. You can do that in a guided meditation. Sometimes there's guided meditations where they guide you to basically like a spread eagle, come out of your body like your higher self and just take a look from a wider perspective rather than having such a narrow view. But what's interesting about breath is two things. Well, there's a lot of things, but two things that I really feel called to talk about. One is, you mentioned, are we breathing properly? So when it comes to proper breathing, we want to breathe deeply through the nose, long, slow breaths into the belly/diaphragm. And that makes a really good, healthy breath. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing that's really interesting about breathing properly, which is most of the time we're breathing in through the nose, most of the time we are breathing into the diaphragm, is that our breath can be like a dial. It's like if you wanted to change a channel on a TV, if you wanted to change your anxiety or your frustration, you can tune into the breath and use proper breathing to change how you're feeling. Many people, they're like, I don't know why I'm anxious. And it's usually a byproduct of the breath. So the breath can inform how we feel. That's the first interesting part. The second interesting part is the main style of breath work that I lead is the opposite. So often people get confused with the conversation of breathing and breath work and pranayama because they're all kind of different. Proper breathing, we don't necessarily have to be consciously aware of. It's just making sure that we breathe slowly and deeply in and out through the nose throughout the day. And then there's pranayama, which are shorter breathing exercises, typically done through the nose to create a quick shift in the body. And then there's breath work, which is usually done for about an hour. It usually refers to modern day breath work, which can mean holotropic breath work or 3-part breath work or circular connected breath. Circular connected breath is the main one that I lead, and it's in and out through the mouth in a circular connected way for about an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a lot of people who like look at it for the first time, they're like, oh, it just looks like a bunch of people lying down, hyperventilating. What's going on?
Right.
That's like what it can look like. There's so much more that goes into it with the control of the breath and the slow build and how it's paired to the music and the cues that the facilitator gives to take you deeper. And if you're in person, sometimes the body work and the physical touch to allow you to feel safe enough to access any memories in your body. So it really does feel like an entire rebirth experience, and it's powerful. So it's basically the opposite of how we should be breathing normally. It's in and out through the mouth, and it's up into the chest rather than the diaphragm. Of course, you can breathe belly breaths if you want, but this function of this certain breath work is designed to alter the state of consciousness and can actually release DMT in the brain, which is the active component in ayahuasca, which many people go to the Amazon and they have that plant medicine. And it's also the thing that is released in the brain right before we die. And so it can feel like euphoria. It can bring visions. It can lead us to having this spiritual experience. And yeah, like it's really, really powerful stuff. And I think that, we literally have a key to a portal to access anything we would need to know and more. So the motto for Breath of Gold, which gold is a lot about abundance and has a lot to do with spiritual business coaching. And also abundance to me is love. Abundance to me is money. Abundance to me is success. It's all of it. It's a abundant life in every area. So the tagline is connect to wealth and wisdom from within. And I truly believe that anything we could be desiring is within our breath. So the clients that I would have the most success with business coaching, they would do a breathwork journey and then they would inform me like, Adrienne, this is the message that came through. I'm going to do a 5-day challenge. This is what it's going to be like. And then I use my business wisdom to make suggestions, co-create it together. And those clients are way more likely to actually follow through because it came from them.
Right.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many business coaches that I've hired. They're like, you're going to do this thing. And I just don't do it. And then I feel so guilty. I'm like, I paid so much money for this business coach and I didn't even do the strategy. So I really believe in co-creation and empowering people to create a deeper relationship with themselves, because I definitely used to be the type of person that was looking for all of the answers in mentors, other people, programs, marketing, society, my mom, my husband. Like I was just looking everywhere outside of me until I found breath work. And it was like, okay, all I need is to slow down and receive the wisdom that's already here.
You carry everything with you. Everything is within ourselves. We are a reflection of others because there's that. I believe that. And, whoever we come in contact with is just another self. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe that every experience is a reflection for us. Yes.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. So what can people do to get in touch with you, Adrienne?
Yes. So if they're curious about Breath of Gold offerings, I invite them to check out breathofgold.com. if you go to breathofgold.com/Sunday-breathwork, you can try one of our breathwork experiences with me for free. And I highly recommend that because there's nothing like, experiencing a session rather than just talking about it. So I highly recommend that. If you want to reach out and send me a voice note on Instagram at Adrienne Rivera Coaching, I'd love to send you a voice note back. I always love getting to know people and connecting on the internet. It's an amazing way to connect with people, and I'd love to support you more if you're interested in breathwork.
That sounds amazing. So people have an opportunity to get in touch with you now at breathworkofgold.com/Sunday/breathwork.
Dash breathwork.
Yeah. Dash breathwork.
Yes.
Slashes and dashes. That'll kill me.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, my
no
God.
Worries.
Hello. And then send you a Adrienne. What is that?
Adrienne Rivera Coaching. ADRIENNERIVERA. And then coaching.
Okay. I'm taking notes. Okay. So what would you say that the people who are listening to this podcast right now, what should they do right now?
They should tune into their breath. I would say you can focus in on box breath. This is something that I recommend for everyone. It is inhaling slowly from in and out through the nose. Inhale 4, hold for 4, exhale 4, hold for 4. And do a few rounds of that. See how it feels. You can do it for 5 minutes. See how that feels. Even just after a minute, you can feel so much focus and clarity. The Navy SEALs used to use it. I know in police officer training, they often teach this as well. It's a really powerful tool. And if you were to just, step away anytime you need a reset and do that simple breathing technique, that could really support you. And I would say the last invitation for people is to create a relationship with your breath. That is what I want to leave you with.
Yeah, I'm telling my listeners, as I usually do, to re-listen to this podcast, take a yellow pad and a pen and handwrite everything out. Don't type it. Don't do anything. Do it by hand. It goes into your body faster and it stays there. So all of the notes that you would want to take, do it that way. And I would also say, follow your breath. Listen to what Adrienne has to say. And I want to thank Adrienne for being here today. It's been an interesting morning, and this is a great way to start the day. Breathing. Thank you for being here, Adrienne. It's been an eye-opener, and I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project Podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.